What's up guys, Bolt here once again. Today I'm showing off a Wargame Red Dragon 1v1 ranked match. Now this is Nuclear Winter is coming and the decks are quite interesting. I am playing as the Baltic Mechanized and my opponent, Hephaestus here, I believe is playing with Scandinavia Mechanized. So we got quite the showdown here. So yeah, Nuclear Winter is coming, a massive map. Not especially what I would call a 1v1. This is honestly at least a 2v2 map, but still it kind of makes it more interesting. So in terms of unit composition, what I have going on is, for example, for the right side, we have a T-72, just a basic T-72 for its 5 or 4 HE, and I have some infantry there, some shock, some regular troops. On the right side we have ATGMs, we have manpads, and we have a recon team going to India. I have a command staying in hotel, one command going to Gulf to quickly cap that land spawn so that I can reinforce the left. Now another important place on this map is here, right here. So what I have going on for that area is an ATGM squad, an AA squad, so a manpads, and just a regular line infantry. Now for Delta I have two Mi-24s with Commandosi. And these guys will really be holding that line until my ground forces arrive, which are these boys here. So we have some shock troops, we have some more manpads, and we also have a Sopel as AA. Now, let's go over to the opponent's units. So we have some helicopters that he's moving in. We have two Bell 204s and an HKP, so those are special forces, the Fallschirmjägers. He has two ViK-40s. Quite expensive, an M41A1, which is a pretty good recon unit, quite cheap, and then a bunch of M113s with things like Dragoneers and that kind of stuff. So on the right side he has kind of a similar loadout to mine. He has one tank, some infantry, he's probably going to hold right about here, and then he has a recon unit that is going to try to peek on that right side. Now we also bought an F-16. This is the cheap variant. It costs, well, I say cheap, but it's still 120 points. But it's really good at making these kind of early air pushes to take out some of these helicopters. He does take out two of these herbs, but luckily they're basically not worth anything. 45 points. These are basically just meat shields to try to piss off the enemy here. Luckily he does not have AA helis, so what I can do is just keep him busy for as long as possible, and this also kind of forced him to land a bit behind Delta. He also bought a seaplane, which is quite expensive, so that's already 120, that's 200 points spent on aircraft early on. Now, I have no radar AA, so I think we're good. On the right side, I immediately spawn in another command. We have our manpads, our ATGMs, and regular infantry going in. I'm just holding the infantry here in the town because we will definitely not be winning against those kind of powers. So Commandosi, 30 in total, are moving into the town and awaiting the Scandinavian horde, so to say. I did, with the Sopel, manage to really hurt that puff, so we're doing pretty good so far. Now, as I mentioned, this town here is super important. He could have easily gotten here as well if he made that push. But as soon as I take this, I basically have this resupply corridor between my spawn here in Gulf and Delta. And if the enemy puts ATGMs here or manpads or anything, I basically am really screwed over here, because if I move over this road, I'll get ATGM'd. If I move over here, I'll get ATGM'd. I'll just get pinned down easily. So I make that one of my main objectives. Now in the town, we have some Fallschirmjäger 90s moving in. These guys have Eric's, really good units. 15-man shock troops with one of the best anti-tank weapons. Also some regular infantry, some Dragoneers to take the beating, which they do really well, because my Commandosi are not doing so hot. We already lost 4 men in this squad, and this guy is up against more Dragoneers, because, yeah, they have MG3s, so they're definitely not pushovers. Command is out into India. I'm just falling back with the Hinds to repair them. I'm spawning some infantry here to hold the left flank. And Charlie is pretty weak as well, so I'm also spawning some units to resupply this. But since I noticed that he bought 2 planes and has really expensive units here, I reckon he doesn't really have anything else to push with. So the Penza Yakari, really good units. They're only 10 men though, 10 man squads. So we're kind of at a disadvantage versus the Forschungsjäger in terms of numbers. But the Commandosi are doing really, really well at keeping these guys at bay until our reinforcements arrive. The Fighting Falcon comes in and drops its big old bombs right on top of my Penza Yakari. Luckily he misses a little bit. And that is another wasted airplane. Yeah, the Leafgarden 85, which are shock troops, have MG3s, and the Dragoneers, who also have MG3s, will just tear through my infantry. Especially with some fire support from these M113s. The MP2s wrecking that M113 with an ATGM here, with the Conqueror's missiles. And these are pretty good, they're quite cheap, 25 points. And the infantry that it comes with is regular infantry, but this is mainly for really the autocannon and fire support. So the Picotus Mechs, they're the ones that come with this, so they're 35 points total. But you do get ATGMs and a nice autocannon and some, you know, sacrificable infantry here. Now at this point, I reckon that the town is basically lost for the moment. On the right side, I kind of just forgot to micro these units. I just gave them a queue order to unload as soon as they got here, but they kind of just all went to the same place. But that's not really going to be an issue. So on the left, I'm spawning some T-72s. Finally got my mortars out, the 120mm, because these guys, when they dig in, they're going to be hard to crack. I also have a quad stack of cheap infantry to just keep them busy and not push up here. Now, as I said, this town is essential, so these ATGMs are doing Lord's work right now. And here's something painful. Luckily, it misses one of the Grom squads and the Sopel. These guys are going to be essential for holding this zone. There's a bit of a break in the fighting here. Now, if we quickly go over to the right side, he did get into the town with the recon. This was mainly because I just did not micro these guys well enough. But do keep an eye on your units around the map. Luckily, my shock recon units and my Yakari 90s and all of these vehicles will quickly take this guy out and not be a problem. He does mark the command. I think he saw this Zill truck because the command is hidden. But somehow he doesn't really do anything else with it. He marks it but doesn't bomb it or mortar it or anything, because I guess as mechanized you don't have the really good artillery. ATGMs clapping that unit, and once again just this little position here is keeping this entire region under lockdown. It's really, really good. So I do make a job of, or make a priority of resupplying these dudes. And keep this ATGM squad loaded together with the Grom units. Now here in the town, I'm moving some good, well, slightly better infantry, some Yakari 90s. Because I do have some ZSUs in the back. These are 57mm. Really good, underrated units. Basically ship cannons. It's basically a cheap automatic. But unfortunately, the enemy plays it smart, and he does not move to the edge of the town, because if he did, all of this fire support would rain down on him. I also have some T-72s, the basic ones, 40 points, for 4 HE each, which is just wonderful. They will basically kill like 1 or 2 soldiers with every hit, and if you have 2 of them, you will take out these squads in no time. Now on the left, he moves in an STRV-103D, really fast firing tanks, 15 rounds per minute, 65% accuracy and 17 AP. Really, really underrated. I don't think it's really underrated. It's being used quite frequently, but Scandinavia Armored is actually really, really fun to play with. Now he does move a Dragoneer squad up to the front here. These are cheap units, 10 points. With the M113s, they're 15. So he really had the you know, the spammable infantry at its side. Mine were 15 points as well, but I didn't really have that many of them, which were the BTR 50 squads. So with the 30 Fallschirmjäger in the town, he basically locks it down at range as well. With the Eric's having a range of 1,000 meters, there's not much I can do. Now I quickly move over the manpad to take out that helicopter because he's going to use it to like scout ahead. I move one more Grom squad to the left. I have some cheaper infantry moving here. I have this Mi-24 to scare off this tank and basically make him think that I have more units here than I actually do. Now the Fallschirmjäger 30 open up, enabling the BMP2s here to fire at it. I quickly move the CSUs back because I moved them here to engage these Fallschirmjägers there instead. Now these guys move into the forest, which was kind of weird for me, but still. Sopel taking out the bells. So for now it's quite a, I would say a calm fight. It's about to get heated really quick though. There we go, CSUs finally have a line of sight on Livgarden 85, just demolishing that unit real quick, making him fall back. The Fallschirmjäger 90 with their Eric's will be a problem, taking out one of my CSUs with no issue whatsoever. But now I decide to use my fire support, because this is really working out really well. I noticed that the enemy does not really have good fire support at his disposal. I need to make use of mine. Now speaking of fire, I tried to move some Sapries in here with their 5 HE RPOs to deal with anything in the forest. But unfortunately one of them gets clapped outside by an Eric's and the other guys are holding that edge of the town. At least these units are making Hephaestus fall back into the town, so that's actually working as planned. Another sea plate coming in. He has this guy on the lowest veterancy ever, which I don't really understand. But hey, to each their own. Now on the right side, I just moved in these units to see what they have. And I immediately spot this STRV-103D. But there's also another reason I do these kind of things. It makes people invest in units. So for me that didn't cost anything. But for him, that's gonna cost... what did it cost? 20 points. And that's one less squad of infantry in the town to worry about. Now the Sapries here are panicked. I don't actually remember what happened with these guys. Did they hit anything? No, they got absolutely demolished. It unfortunately didn't really do well. Now, the plan for now is to build up units and then make a push for the town with overwhelming fire support. Now the RBSs just get to the edge of the town. I do not manage to spot them because my recon here got destroyed. So unfortunately, he has free picking on these units. Now the Fallschirmjäger 90 on the left do get spotted, but the RBS squads will still kill most of these units. And I think at this point I was focusing on the left side. I kind of just forgot about this eventful moment here in the town. Yeah, that wasn't quite that fun. I do get some Yakari 90s to just Zerg rush the town with the transports here to basically soak up all of the fire from these ATGMs. But also that didn't quite work according to plan. The town is really difficult to take as soon as the enemy has a good foothold. Now he does buy another command for Delta. And that would put him at a +1 advantage. Block 15 is still flying around. With this situation though, I decide to buy more mortars. Because the only way we can take this town is by RDing the infantry to get them at least panicked or stunned. So that we can rush in with our special forces. And we do need really good units to take out these half-tracks, these AFEs. Now the mortars raining down on the infantry immediately demolishes them, as you can tell. I have a Yakari 90s moving up, Panzer Yakari here with a BMP2. He's just holding fire support. We have a recon finally that can spot some stuff. Mi-24D comes in to try to take out this STRF 9040. And these are the ones that I used in the beginning to actually get the Commandozi into the town. And look at that, that looks really cool. Now that ATGM luckily does hit the STRF 9040, but doesn't quite kill it. Mainly because of its only 16 AP, and it's... I don't know, somehow it just didn't kill it. Second one, though, misses, and also doesn't... is not successful at taking it out. Now at this point, the enemy moved... what the third one did. The enemy moved a lot of units into the edge of the forest, which is exactly what I hoped for. Because now I can use my fire support here to take out as many units as possible. I also have my mortars raining down. So he kind of made a mistake here. Now the double ViK40s will absolutely demolish my Mi-24D. There's not much left of those. Two more basic T-72s come in to give more fire support. Now, since this STRV-103D is panicked, the T-72s will have quite an easy job of taking these guys out. And with that, basically everything on that side is dead. On the left, I moved up my Akari 90s to just see what they have. On the left, we also have Leaf Garden against my Akari 90s. We have mortars raining down on them real quick to stun them. And we have our Recon BMP here with excellent optics. And if we just go into our point of view, we can actually tell how much we are seeing. This guy is seeing a lot of units here. It's kind of insane, together with this Recon that I have here. Now in the middle, we still have this Puff, this seed plane flying around. Not quite sure why. I do have radar AA, but everything I've been using were Sopals, and he should know this. T-72s move a little bit too close, and the Leaf Garden take these guys out, no problem. But they serve their purpose. Really good artillery strikes here, stunning that Leaf Garden 85, right on top of them as well. But somehow they still fight on. Now at this point I bought one more mortar piece, but not to spam mortars, but all just to smoke this off. And that's going to happen any moment now. Let's just go to speed ×2, because there is a little bit of a build-up moment here. Now the Yakari 90s are moving up together with that artillery support. Panzer Yakari are moving up but get demolished by the ViK40s, which I presumed were dead. That didn't quite work. That Sopal dying actually hurt quite a bit. That takes out most of our AA capabilities there. Now as you can tell, the mortars, they're not really going to delete these units. They're just pissing them off long enough for them to fall back. But now comes the big push. We finally got the smoke. Now I have BMP2Ds moving in, regular BMP2s. We have BTR-50s. Now these are basically my initial rush units. I don't expect these guys to really survive that long, but they just need to hold for as long as possible until my special forces arrive. Now the initial approach to the town is smoked, but what you really need to do is also smoke on top of these units, because sometimes the line of sight just does not really work in your favor, and these guys will still be able to shoot into that smoke with their RPGs. So I just hold my units just outside this smoke line here and get a bit more HE into the town, just to stun a few more units, and then I continue with more smoke. And this also gives me time to get these units up to the front line. Mi-24D is repaired again, coming back to the front line. Still the one I used to unload the initial Commandosi squads in here. And with this smoke, we can move into the town without any issues. So 40 Panzer Yakari unload. These cost 20 points. Together with the BTR, that's 25 points. That's 100 points right there. Just casually moving into the town. Luckily, I picked the right building. I quickly get in and start engaging these Dragoneers, and that basically opens up an entry zone into the town. SDRV-103D comes in. Massive problem for me. If he moves into the edge of the forest, we are done for. Now, there was a plane that came in. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Kind of just lost track of it. Also, I can't see the plane. I think... oh, here it is. That was a Block 15 again coming in. But our Grams took that out, no problem. So I do have some more artillery raining down. I noticed these Fallschirmjäger coming in. So I just RD in front of them to stop them from moving to the edge of the town. We have our BMPs moving in. These Yakaris are just holding that line until my better infantry arrives. I move up my Panzer Yakari, and we have more Panzer Yakari and Picota Smeks moving in. Luckily, we double tapped that STRV 9040. That would have been a huge problem otherwise. But, as I mentioned, the enemy has 15 point spammable infantry, but there's more Dragoneers for us to deal with. But I have more of these BMP2s as well. Now the only downside about these mortars is their 60 round capability, so I might have to change them up for either the 80 mils or get some really cheap supplies so I can supply them from the start. Now at this point these guys are just full on panic and do not move into the town, so I lose quite a bit of these units. That's just the wargame pathfinding for you. Now it doesn't look good, does it? We lost quite a bit of units. The enemy outnumbers me already once again. STRF 9040 is moving in once again. I have my Mi-24D basically at an angle to shoot down anything in this road. Unfortunately, we do miss quite a few shots. The ZSUs are moving in to try to suppress some of these units. STRV 103D just collapsed them with ease. We destroy the STRF 9040 here. That guy does not survive for long. I have more mortars raining down on the Fallschirmjäger to try to supply or suppress them. And at this point, since the enemy just has an endless train of infantry, what I do is I fire right at this position with my mortars. To try to basically keep the enemy's approach to the town covered. Now he is still +1 as well, and he's gaining pretty fast. There goes the last Mi-24D that we had. And I like to call this like a cut-off artillery. But man, these guys are fighting for dear life. Picota Smeks are surprisingly good. Now the VIG-40s move to the edge of the town. I do have more BMP2s. I unload them just to make sure. I also move in some units from this town to just give more firepower. I'm on top of these VIG-40s. Luckily, we do start taking out one of them with the RPG-7 here. But unfortunately, this guy doesn't really survive for long. The AT-Gem here also does not have a line of sight. Now here's a mistake the enemy made. Enemy moved back some of his units to double team this guy. But at the last minute, he does move in his more elite units to the front line. To try to stop this new push from arriving. But that opens up the road for all of my fire support to take him out with ease. So that's going pretty good. There we go, finally AT-Gem can get some action. Bell 204s, dropping in units. Luckily for him, I don't have any AA. Now since these guys are panicked, I move in my BMPs really close. My Picota Smeks are moving up. I got more BMPs on the right side, just raining down fire at these units. That's a fresh squad of 15 Fallschirmjäger, which is quite painful. But these units are still surviving. It's quite insane. So with the 50, well I should say 49 Picota Smeks into the town, I'm a bit more calm here. I quickly just moved them up to hold the town for as long as possible and allow for more infantry to arrive. So as you can see, I just have a train of units moving into the town. Every point I get is being spent on this town. And the artillery just has a continuous job of RDing this road right here. More BMP2s with more Yakaris or Picota Smeks. And now we actually outnumber the enemy, finally. Artillery rains down exactly on the STRF 9040 as, you know, per design here. Which really saved our butt. And it also forces him to unload quite early on. Now the BMP2 moves in. Takes out one STRF 9040. Fires at the other one, gets him panicked. I don't know if it actually manages to destroy it. It did, wow. BMP2, the true OG right there. I move one BMP2 to the right to just either piss him off or make him invest units there. But that quite worked. DSU here is getting fire support on the Fallschmager, just being triple teams, and that guy's melting really quick. Now at this point, I don't really see any other units being spawned in here. There is like a few infantry squads that he's spawning in, but he's buying really expensive units. Like these airborne Fallschmager are just super expensive. That's 30 points. Together with that, it's 45 points. And in Conquest, you just can't really win if you're up against something that is 10 points. Sometimes it's really about who can spam more infantry, unfortunately. Mortars raining down on the Lift Garden, quickly killing a few squads, which was really helpful. Also gets them panicked. Those guys are basically gone. I do get some blue on blue here, but that's just fine here. Quite an intense fight. Now block 5 moves in with cluster, because I did decap it with my T55 here, but I moved it slightly, you know, out of the usual suspected zones. I would normally move it into the forest here, but for now that's a bit too risky. Now STRV-103D moves in once again, quite a big problem. I quickly reposition my infantry to try to get some side shots on this thing, and somehow we actually did get a shot off and took away 4 HP. I have more Picotus Max with BMPs moving in. These guys will move into this building here. I'll move basically all of these guys up to the edge of the town to try to take this guy out as soon as possible. One shot from the front. Somehow another shot from the front, but I think it missed. That side shot missed. Did the artillery get it? The artillery got it. Wow. He landed a 120mm right on top and destroyed that unit. Quite intense. Now he is leading with more than double the points, almost triple the points. But the way I play Conquest is not to Zerg rush to places with the most points immediately. I go for tactical positions, such as this here, or, well, on the left, for example, by taking these areas, and then I worry about Conquest points. If you invest too many in commands, or you only go for the high, the high Conquest point income zones, and you leave the rest, you'll actually be at a disadvantage. The enemy will be able to easily flank you. Like, if I didn't go here, he would have probably probed and went into this town. If I didn't fight over here, he would have gotten into Charlie and just flanked us in Delta. So you really have to do like a combined push across the map, I would say. Go to smacks and BMPs, just unleashing on the Dragoneers. But at this point, it is safe to say that we've kind of destroyed most of his cheap stuff, because he's starting to call in these STR-9040s. 2 more heavy bombs come in. I do call in an airplane. This MiG-29 comes in, fires at the Fighting Falcon, misses, but because he's like right behind me, I decide to go after the Block 5. But somehow, all of these planes survive. And the Block 5 had another cluster bomb landing right there, but our T-55 is just nice and happy at the edge of the town. Now at this point, we've basically won the town engagement. It took quite a bit of time, it took quite a bit of firepower, but I still wanted to show this off to give you guys an idea of how to assault a town that is taken over by really good infantry. Now Scandinavia mechanized is not an easy deck to defeat. I think one mistake he made was not having artillery or other fire support. Because when I looked into his statistics, it was like 40% infantry and no vehicles, no helicopters, that kind of stuff.
Now Sapri's moving in with the RPOs. That's going to clean up all the infantry. We do have a T-72 M1 Wilk now to deal with any armored units here. So we got that. Finally the Sapri's. Maybe I should have moved these into the town earlier. The Sapri's will just delete that Panzerskite. No problem. Now I decide to move in some infantry to the right side, and as you can tell, the enemy once again makes a big mistake of clumping up his units, and that opens the road for my mortars to fire, but unfortunately, or fortunately for him, they are all out of supplies. Otherwise that would have been a bloodbath. So I quickly move in units on 3 flanks, move in my tanks, all these topazes, and just get fire support. Or suppressive fire right on top of them. And they're just not having a good time. Now he does try at one point to bomb our units and to flank on this side, but our ZSUs just managed to block that. We also have a cheap T-72 there. Another block 5 with cluster bombs comes in. This time not to go for a command, but to go for the T-72. And I am surprised that actually managed to kill it, because whenever I use cluster, it does not do anything. But this was a really good cluster bomb. It just flattens that forest. And that is basically it for the town. He lost the town and gave up. He could have pushed somewhere else, he could have tried some other things. That was still fun to play. Hope you guys enjoyed that kind of town cluster F. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section, and I will see you guys back in the next one. Take care.